I think that the biggest thing, and it's one of those things that's really hard to pin down, is this what we call pattern matching habits, right? And so, over time, investors continue to look for similar companies. They look for similar types of founders. There's a boys club that comes into play. And so how do we overcome that is something that has to be deliberate and intentional. And so when I talk about gender lens investing, I talk about the importance of intentionality and actually seeking out and calling them forward, because I think we also have to understand that a lot of women-led companies, because if we look at VC and just how it works in general, we know that a lot of it is built on two things: relationships and insider knowledge. And a lot of times women are just locked out of those rooms. They're not in those rooms. They're not at those tables. And so when we talk about pipelines, it's not something that's just going to magically happen. Like they'll just suddenly show up there if they've never been given access in the first place. And so I think for investors, it's up to them to really say, I am specifically seeking, I am calling out. If you are a female founded team, or you have, female leadership, whatever it is, but we want to see you and we want to hear from you. And when we worked on establishing Greenhouse Lab, I remember being asked several times, like, are there any female-led companies, because how do we know that there's this need? And my answer was, well, we'll build it and we'll see who comes. And we ended up getting over 100 applications from 8 different countries because they're there, but a lot of times, because we're not being intentional and setting up those spaces for them in an industry that has oftentimes been discouraging, that is not seeing them, that has not made room for them. It's just, I can't just say, oh yeah, this is very simple, just do it like this. No, you have to seek them and you have to put out that call for them to say, we are looking for you and we want to support you. And I think getting them at the very early stages is also important, because a lot of times that's where I see that a lot of female founded companies get discouraged early on. And so even with my work in Microsoft, what I do is that I intentionally seek women-led teams if I can, find them, and then I handhold them, because again, that's the other thing that we have to understand, is that it is beyond just the funding. It's about access, guidance, support, all of that stuff. And so I go in and I'm willing to support them from ideation to introduction to all of those things. And so I think, or I know rather, that that's where this needs to go, is that we need to do this intentionally. And like was said, because of the COVID crisis, we're seeing a decline in the numbers that were already dismal before. I mean, we're still in the 2% range, but as of 2019, we're kind of getting into 3%, which is sad to say, but that's the highest that it's ever been. And then COVID happened, and then we saw that decline. And, we still have to kind of parse it out to see what really is responsible for that. Is it that women dropped out of, I guess, just even the process entirely, because we know that women in the workforce, a lot of them dropped out due to COVID. It's a gender thing, but the question still is, how can we do more and how can we be better in serving and bringing equality to this? And I think it's a very important discussion that we need to continue to have. As much as I am tired of saying the same thing over and over again, I will continue to say the same thing over and over.